In just a few days' time, Kia will be launching the radical all-new Syros, which will not only compete in a very fierce segment, but also will fight against its own siblings, the Sonet and the Seltos. Now, Kia says it's got a bit of both from each of those SUVs, and it might be a big small car or a small big car. Either way, it's got a lot of promise. And today, we're going to find out what's it like to drive and what's it all about. Arguably, the talking point of the Syros is the way it looks, and that is unlike any other. Yes, you do get some Wagoner vibes thanks to its form factor, but up close, it is very different. Dimensionally, it is wider than a Sonet and also pips most of the sub-4 meter SUVs in height as well. The LED headlamps low down, wrap around and blend into the cladding. The jewel-like elements in them add blink, and the sharp DRLs are distinctive. There's a silver scuff plate up front to add a bit of muscle as well. The profile reveals a tall boy look with a stub nose, but swanky 17-inch wheels add to the proportions. The heavy use of cladding is to help it stray away from being perceived as a hatchback, and the 190mm ground clearance will be plenty for our roads. The flush-fitting door handles, rakish doors and blacked-out A, C and D pillars give it that concept car look. The rear features sharp L-shaped LED tail lamps, a rear wiper washer and an upright stance with some more cladding and silver garnish on the bumper here too, making the rear end the least busy angle on the Syros. The styling is far from safe and will appeal to those who don't mind being a bit bold. However, if the styling is not to your taste, you will not have a complaint with the interior. Now, on the inside of the Kia Syros, what you'll notice immediately is the level of quality. The build is very good and the overall perceived quality also is quite high. The layout is very fresh, very modern, nothing that harks back to the older cars, nothing that really even connects to the older cars or other cars in its lineup. And of course, you have all these features on offer, which in typical Kia fashion is just amazing to have in a car that sits in this segment. So, starting with the steering wheel, you have this squircle steering wheel that's not exactly round. It has some edges as well, but really nice to hold, really premium. Then you have the dashboard, which most of it is housed in these screens. Now, Kia say it's a 30-inch screen, so it's a one unit that has a 12.3-inch touchscreen in the center, a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, and you have a 5-inch HVAC screen in the center as well. But thankfully, you don't have to operate the screen from there, even though you can adjust fan speed and other modes. You have physical buttons right here, very convenient for the temperature and the fan speed, and even the AC blow setting. Those are physical buttons, which is very nice. The slight issue though is that ergonomically the screen placement is not the best. The 5-inch screen sort of hides behind your hand and the steering wheel, so visibility wise you sort of have to move around a bit. But overall, the screen quality, the touchscreen quality, the user interface, the graphics, really crisp and really nice. Low down, you have some more switches. You have your power sockets, 2 Type-C ports, and they can be switchable from connecting and charging to just charging. Of course, you have a 12-volt socket as well. Below that, you have a wireless charger, and below that, you have the gear selector with the start-stop button. And if you notice, none of the plastics here are dark, hard plastics. They are hard plastics up top, and you have these panels as well, but they get this nice texture that looks very upmarket. Even the gloss finish is not gloss black, which reflects a lot more and catches a lot more dust and smudges. This grey gloss looks really nice again. On the passenger side, you have a bit of a recess here to keep small items, phones, wallets, some loose change. And the seats. The seats are very comfortable, nice and broad, very well cushioned. You get ventilated options as well, and you have a powered driver's seat too. In terms of the instrument cluster, you can do a lot with it. The themes can be customized, you can change the colors as well, and it is all very neatly laid out. You don't have to struggle to find things. So again, very convenient. Panoramic sunroof. Now that's the draw on the Syros. A car in this segment, you don't really expect these things, but it is a massive sunroof that brings in a lot of light and opens up the cabin that much more. And despite the panoramic sunroof, there is no dearth of headroom. It's a nice tall boy design, so overall sense of space is really nice and airy. Even the doors are really nice. Quality levels are very high. You have these soft touch padding for the armrest and on the door sill as well. You've got the cool seat button right here, very nifty. The door handles again are very high quality, so it just doesn't feel like a car that is going to be priced between the Seltos and the Sonet. It's more on the higher end, and that is incredible. The spacious interior and new age tech is the result of the Syros being on a different platform compared to the Sonet. It also gets level 2 ADAS that is radar based, unlike the camera-based system on the Sonet. And there are plenty of gizmos on offer. The Kia Connect 2.0 app lets you control various functions like remote lock unlock, opening of the windows, remote engine start, temperature control, and even locating your car, among many others. Now this is arguably going to be the highlight on the Syros, just the amount of room available in the rear seat. You just don't expect this from a car in this segment, but it is just amazing. Now the wheelbase is slightly higher than the Sonet, that's always a good thing. And as you can see, knee room is not a problem at all. The front seats are scooped out as well. You get a bit of a pocket down here, a small pocket up on the seat as well, and the overall seat comfort is very good. But that's not all. You can elevate even more space. All you need to do is pull on this lever and the seat can move further behind. That opens up a lot more room, and if this is not comfortable, you have a good amount of recline as well. I mean, this is just incredible for a car in this segment to have this. It's fantastic. You also have a center armrest with two cup holders, nice big armrest, very well positioned as well. You've got two AC vents at the back, you've got two Type-C ports, some space to keep your phone, sun blinds as well. That's almost a premium feature. You don't even get them on cars that are higher up in the segment, but in the Syros that is there. And the panoramic sunroof, like I mentioned, runs all the way till behind the headrest, so you have a big glass roof essentially, and that is just incredible. The amount of light that gets through and the sense of space is phenomenal in this car. Back seat is definitely going to be a big highlight. And speaking more of the space, you have a nice flat floor as well, so passengers in the center will also be quite comfortable. Not a big hump in the center, so you won't be seated higher up. You'll be basically seated at par with the other passengers. You don't get an adjustable headrest for the middle passenger. That's a bit of a miss, but overall it is very nice. Now the rear seat also gets ventilation, as you might have seen on a walk around video, but it's only the seat base that gets it, not the backrest. Now the reason for that is if they would have added the backrest for the ventilation as well, that would have eaten up into the recline and the mechanism just was too much. So if there were motors back there that could send cool air onto your back as well, you wouldn't have had that much of a recline. So Kia said, you know what, maybe give them more in terms of that comfortable seating position, and you obviously have the base that is nice and chilly. The tall boy design and high seat height also means getting in and out is very easy, especially for the elderly. However, where the Syros also trumps every single compact SUV, and the even bigger Seltos is with a 465-litre boot once the seats are pushed all the way ahead. It is humongous, and you can also fold down the rear seats for added room. That said, while the space is good, the loading lip is high and you will have to lift your luggage in and out rather than just being able to slide it. There is a spare wheel housed beneath the boot floor as well. If there were points for practicality, the Syros would have a perfect score. The space on offer, the availability of convenience features, and for just how easy and well engineered the ergonomics are, the Syros deserves praise. Powering the Syros are two engine options, a 1-litre 3-cylinder turbo petrol mated to a 6-speed manual and a 7-speed DCT, and a 1.5-litre diesel with a 6-speed manual and a 6-speed torque converter as well. Let's start with the petrol auto first. Now the drivability and vibe of this car overall is relaxed and comfortable. The power delivery is linear, so it's not really zippy in that sense despite that turbo petrol engine. But if you switch the drive modes, which are right here, very convenient, the sport mode gets you a bit more response, and that is evident almost immediately. However, once you get up to 100, 110, triple digit speeds on the highways, there is a fair amount of wind buffeting that comes into it. You may not hear the engine as much, but you hear the wind noise inside the cabin, and that is only enhanced if you open the blind for the panoramic sunroof. While the wind noise does drown out the engine sound, if you end up pushing the engine past 2500 RPM, there is a coarse 3-cylinder sound that is not nice at all. What's nice though is the seating position. You are seated high, the dashboard is low, so the view out is very good. The glass area is nice
and wide as well. You've got these nice small quarter glasses as well that basically give you a better view, and just the seating position is very comfortable. Of course, you can adjust the seat to go quite low, but even at its lowest, which is a fair bit low honestly, you still have the dashboard that's slightly lower. So it'll always have a nice commanding position, and because it has over 100 kgs in terms of weight compared to the Sonnet, it sits nice and happy on the highway. Stability is very, very good. Usually with tall boy designs, you aren't really confident at triple digit speeds on the highway. You get a bit of that side to side movement, not on this one. Nice and flat, very composed, and a lot of that flatness can be attributed towards the ride quality that has a hint of firmness to it. It's not supple, but definitely more comfortable than the Sonnet. The Sonnet, as we know, was quite firm, and over bad roads or low speed bumps, you could feel a lot of that inside the cabin. This one is better than that, but it's still not Seltos level. It's quite literally between the two. So not the plush ride that we want in the city. You will feel the thuds inside the cabin, but they are not as bad as you have it on the Sonnet. What might improve the situation a bit are the smaller tires, the 16-inch ones. These are 17-inch units, so they add a layer of firmness, but I think 16 inches would be a lot better. And the same goes for the handling as well. You have to be lenient with it. You can't really throw this car around. Obviously, it's not a hatchback again. Dimensionally, it's bigger than the Sonnet, so it does take a bit of a toll on the handling. Steering is nice, very well weighted, and as you change the modes, the weight changes as well. So if you switch it to Eco, it gets slightly lighter, a lot more convenient in the city. But overall, it's a very neutral car in terms of handling. Now, mated to this engine is a 7-speed DCT transmission, which is nice and quick, and even the paddle shifters are decently responsive. Going up to 7 gear, you just have to be a bit patient with it. You can't really expect it to drive like a performance car, obviously, but they do offer a bit more control.
What the Syros also gets are terrain modes, which work in tandem with the brakes and traction systems.
Now, fuel efficiency wise, Kia claims 18.2 kpl with the manual version of this turbo petrol and 17.6 kpl with this 7-speed DCT. Obviously not the strongest numbers because they are claimed figures, so real world numbers will be much lower.
We also drove the petrol manual for a short while, and initial impressions are of a firm and springy clutch. Gear lever travel is smooth though, with a well-defined gate, and for the enthusiastic driver, this powertrain combo will be fun. It's also very tractable, and you can bring speeds down to 25 kph in 4th gear and pull away smoothly, but of course slowly. However, the claimed efficiency of the petrol, even with the manual, is not too high.
So if you are someone who does a lot of driving, if you put kilometers on your car, then of course there is always that diesel option. But so into the diesel powered Syros, it gets the same 1.5 litre diesel engine, 115 horsepower that you see on the Sonnet, and well, refinement levels compared to the turbo petrol. Even though at idle the vibrations are very well contained, you don't have much on the steering. As soon as you get going, you do hear that diesel drone, and as the speed rises, as the revs climb up, it gets a lot more pronounced. So it's definitely there. That paired with the wind buffeting, and the cabin is not really hushed on the diesel. What's good though is off-the-line response. That bottom end torque that you get with the diesel engine is just superb. So in the city, this car is very, very effortless. And even on the highway, I'm doing around 90 kph, 6th gear, under 2000 RPM. So it's very well sorted. And even if I push it above 100, 110, it sits at around 2000, 2100 RPM. Now at that point, there is a fair bit of wind noise coming in. And then of course, you have that constant diesel drone in the background. But truth be told, the fact that Kia is still offering a diesel, this is an all-new car, they could have skipped it out completely, but they know there is a market for it. They know with the kind of practicality this car offers, people will tend to do long distances, and a diesel is just unbeatable in terms of efficiency, especially when you compare it to the turbo petrol model. In terms of efficiency, the diesel claims 20.75 kpl with the manual version and 17.65 kpl with the 6-speed torque converter automatic. And speaking of the gearbox, again, very smooth, typical torque converter, nice and fluid. However, the paddle shifters aren't too great. There is a fair bit of delay and lag, so I don't think you'll be using this a whole lot.
Here too, the drive modes help the engine response and add a bit more zest for quick overtakes.
And in terms of ride quality, not too different from the turbo petrol. That underlying firmness is there, and because the diesel is slightly heavier, you do feel a bit more of that on low speed bumps. But high speed stability is just excellent. At no point do you feel underconfident with this car.
The pros and cons of the Syros are quite clear. The space, practicality and features are the highlights, while the engine performance is modest at best. If you need a laid-back, compact city car with all the bells and whistles and loads of practicality, the Syros is very good. Pricing is not out yet, but since it will be slotted between the Sonet and the Seltos, you can expect a range between 10 to 16 lakh rupees. Lower versions will clash with the Sonet, while the higher ones will eat into the Seltos zone, and this is a good problem for Kia to have, because at the end of the day, no matter what you pick, it is Kia who wins.